Hey everyone, this is Nick from Cameta Camera along with Jason from Sony, and today we're looking at the brand new Sony Alpha A7 III.
The camera everyone wants to see, the one that everyone's talking about.
Alright, well we finally have our hands on it today and we're very excited. Now this camera was recently introduced as basically your, I said basically, but your basic full frame camera. And is that not working for you as an introduction?
It's anything but basic. It's basically you're looking at, or in this case, the A7 III is taking all of the latest technology that we've put into cameras such as the A9 and the A7 III, and we've put it together at a price point that puts it in that basic category, but it has everything inside that any photographer or videographer is looking for.
I mean, technically speaking, it is sort of the entry-level full-frame camera for Sony's Alpha line, but it is also, like you said, has tons of great specifications. It's got lots of new features, and it is one of those cameras that just does everything well. And that's because it borrowed so much great technology from the upper echelon models.
Oh, the A7 III is taking in, like Nick just said, from the A7 III and the A9. We have 693 phase detection points coming from the A9.
That's a lot of points.
A lot of points on there. We have an improved IAF system and 5-axis stabilization. We have the ergonomics that are also seen on the R3 and the A9. We have the dual card slot. We have a new Z battery inside. We have a joystick toggle. All these things have been refined to make the A7 III not just an entry, but the best parts of our professional full-frame line.
All right, that's a good overview, but let's get into a little more detail about how this is an improvement over the A7 II, which I've got in my hands right now. Now, at first glance, they look basically the same, so you could be forgiven for confusing the two. However, that's where the similarities basically end, apart from this little star that we've got on our model. This is our in-house model. This has, like you said, a ton of autofocus points. Compared to this one, we're talking over 500 points. This has 117 and this has 693, plus a ton of contrast points as well for accuracy.
Yeah, you'll have the 425 contrast points on there paired with the 693 phase detection points. On a full frame sensor, that's covering over 90% of the image sensor.
Okay.
It's hard not to get something in focus. And in this case, you're also looking at the speed capability. The A7 II was at about 5 frames per second. A7 III, we've gone up to 10, and more importantly, this could be done in both electronic or mechanical shutter, which also gives you the option silent shooting, unlike the A7 II.
Now, silent shooting is really great for people who are shooting weddings or if you're shooting any other kind of things where you have to be discreet. For me personally, when I go to a Little League game and I'm trying to shoot my son getting a hit, I don't want to distract him with a noisy mechanical shutter, which is what my other camera has. So electronic shooting is a big upgrade.
Oh, it's going to open up all kinds of opportunities in many cases. It's not only distracting those who are playing Little League, but if you're out shooting nature or wildlife, to not be a distraction. If you're at a wedding and you want to take some pictures and not be a distraction as well. It gets you into many opportunities.
Some other upgrades that are on this camera: number one, it has a touch screen now, so when you didn't have that kind of capability on the A7 II, you now have it with the 3. And you also have better battery life. Now this is something that a lot of people don't really consider when they're shopping for a camera, but when I'm out shooting for an entire day, I have to change my battery 2 or 3 times. With this new Z series battery, that's really not going to be an issue.
The new Z battery on this, and if we compare it right now to what was in, yes, and this is what was in the A7 II as well as our A6000 series, you can not only see that it's larger, but the thing is, it's that much more powerful. You're looking at about 2.2 times more power.
Yeah, a lot more capacity on that camera.
And actually on the A7 III, it's actually our best rated battery. It actually has a better rating than the A7 III and the A9. It's the same battery, but it'll give you a longer life on the A7
So
III.
per charge, you could get over 700 shots, and that's a conservative estimate,
That's a conservative estimate in this case. It's the top one we have on the Z, but we've been shooting with it now in all of our testings, and for many cases, 4 or 5 hours, we only see a small dent going into the battery.
Okay. Another thing you mentioned earlier was the memory card slots. Now this one only has 1, and this one, of course, has 2, so you can back up your pictures while you're shooting, or you can shoot JPEG to one and RAW to the other if you wish. And one of those slots is super fast, which is a good thing for not only fast shooting, but also 4K video.
Oh, it's going to open up all kinds of options, because with the UHS-2 and slot 1, this is going to have a big improvement, because we have the 4K on here. some would already say, well, I had that capability before on other cameras. This is going to include the S-Log 3 and the hybrid gamma for video shooting as well.
Okay, so those are great things for people who want to do their own color grading when they're doing their video editing, which makes this a great video capable camera. And having that stuff included is also nice because that's something that other manufacturers might charge extra for.
It's something that's going to be extra. It's something where, you were looking at a price point that was going higher. You were investing more professional.
For sure.
And that's why when we had our air quotes for basic, all of these professional features, not just from a photo line, but from a video line, are found actually in the A7 III body.
Yep. So now, if you're a professional shooter, you don't have to spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. You can get all of those features now in something that comes in under $2,000 with the A7 III.
Yeah, with the A7 III, it's in here, and in many cases, you're seeing the fact that videographers and photographers, we're each doing a little bit of everyone else's. The eye autofocus that's on here is improved. The 5-axis stabilization is improved. So this works
when you mentioned the eye
everything.
autofocus, you've got the viewfinder as well as a big improvement.
The EVF on the A7 III is just above and beyond what you had on the A7 II. It's not going to be as sharp as the A7 III, but for many people looking through, just the same as they would expect on traditional DSLR, but with an EVF.
Now, you mentioned the A7 III. Now, of course, there's still going to be a big market for that camera as well because of the resolution and the improved clarity on the EVF, as well as the, I believe the sensor is different as well.
Oh, yeah.
Apart from the resolution itself, it probably has more dynamic range and ISO.
Well, looking at actually the ISO range on the A7 III actually goes beyond what the A7 III has.
Ooh, I did not know
Yes,
that.
with the A7 III, you can actually go up over 200,000 now on that. If you required over 200,000, we're interested to see how you needed it. But on the A7 III, the most notable difference between the two is 42.4 megapixels on the A7 III.
Right.
But there's not much that you can't do with only 24 megapixels. You never think you'd say that, because right now 24 megapixels, that's the same as our A9. That's our flagship model.
Right.
There's all kinds of possibilities to it, but the EVF, better on the A7 III. There's a pixel shift. That's more for a high resolution, a portrait shooter. But once again, we took some of the better parts from the A7 III and the A9, put it into the A7 III body.
One of those things is the in-body image stabilization, which previous A7 cameras also had, but as you mentioned to me earlier, these have been improved in this new model.
Oh yeah, it's been improved with the 5-axis stabilization, and what the 5-axis pretty much is going to cover, it's your X, your Y, your pitch, your roll, everything in here, it's going to be covered. This gives you about 5 stops of extra capability with the axis stabilization.
Now, I'm going to have to get my hands on this
Get your
camera
hands
since
on
you're,
it.
you're talking about it so much. The EVF is nice and smooth, no lag. I'm actually shooting right now, and you can't hear anything. This is on electronic shutter.
And at this point, when you're shooting in the burst at the 10 frames per second, you can do 177 JPEGs in the
That's a lot of JPEGs.
That's a lot of JPEGs. That's a lot of Little League.
All right, so now we compared it to the A7 III. We compared it to the A9. A9 is basically your, sports
That's our
stills camera.
flagship for
right.
sports.
So you're obviously going to be getting a lot more speed and a lot more buffer capability with the A9. However, you're not really sacrificing that much with the A7 III, which comes in at a lot cheaper price.
Yeah, it's going to be at a lower price point and still be able to perform at what we would expect out of a DSLR on a pro market. But in this case, we're looking at a mirrorless camera.
Okay.
This is our basic mirrorless. These are the drawbacks that aren't supposed to be. Like, how is this possible?
Yeah, entry level is not supposed to have all of those features available to you.
There's too much in this camera.
All right, so speaking of other cameras, I have an A6000. Still on the market, still
on
an
the
excellent
market.
camera, has great autofocus capability, shoots nice and fast. However, I'm ready to upgrade. I've been shooting with a crop sensor camera for 5 years, and I'm looking at full frames. I'm looking at them, they're far away. It's one of those things in the distance that I'm slowly inching myself towards.
Okay.
But why would I go for an A7 III apart from all the specs and all the features? How's it going to be a big improvement over my existing camera? Because the lenses are still all there. They're interchangeable. I can use G Master lenses with my A6000 if I wanted to. But Where's the full frame improvement? Where's that advantage come from?
All right, you're looking at the advantage of coming up to full frame, and right now the ability of what it can be in there as far as one, the phase detection points on here are increasing.
Yes, that's
Bigger
true.
surface area
The
coming through.
autofocus system is
The
amazing.
autofocus in there, that much better. The buffer as well, but more importantly, we're looking at the benefits here for low light capability, looking at what you could do as far as depth of field, and some of that's just the principle in the sensor size itself. But one of the things that's going to take the A7 III from, as you say, all the way out here and put it a little bit closer here right now is looking from what you had on your A6000. You're looking at a better 5-axis stabilization in here.
Well, 5-axis at all, the A6000 doesn't have it.
Well, I'm saying you're looking at something better in there. That's
Yes,
going to help
absolutely.
with your shots. Pairing it with the sport lenses, you're getting a better battery in there, an improved EVF for the viewfinder, and more importantly now, with the Little League games, you're technically a sports photographer, the dual card slots on there.
Yes.
And the ability to go into 4K video.
That's not something I considered, but I really should. 4K video is going to be, I mean, it's basically standard now.
It's a standard right now, and you're actually doing a 6K sampling with this camera, and then an output down at 4K.
Okay, so lots of things to consider there. I'm inching ever so closer to
it keeps
plunking
coming
down the cash
closer
for.
and closer. It's a lot of times people, like I said, we looked at this, and when we saw the specs, so much of the A7 III, so much of the A9, we saw a body at $19.99, and there's got to be an error somewhere.
Yeah.
It's a misprint.
Actually,
It's
I
not
really
that out of
am
reach.
closer than I make it seem out to be, because I was looking at the A9 just last year, thinking, all right, I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and get the A9, but I was waiting, hoping that this would come out, and now that it finally has, it has more features than I could have expected, and the specifications are amazing. You've read them, and now that you've seen the camera, and hopefully you will be able to get your hands on it soon, it's going to be available in stores when?
It's available to pick up at Cameta on April 10th.
All right, so when you are ready, come into Cameta Camera, log on to Cameta.com, check out the A7 III, and it will be going fast. I can guarantee that. We're going to have a little bit of difficulty keeping them in stock. That's up to you to keep bringing them in.
Oh, we're doing our best on it, and the response right now on the A7 III has just been phenomenal. The numbers that we saw just within the first few hours of the announcement, it's the camera everyone is looking for.
All right, so place your pre-order now, and then you can get yours in just a few days at Cameta.com.